All right, and now the judges are free to introduce themselves.
Well, first of all, congratulations for being here. I know it requires a lot of time, effort, and work. And I've also been on the other side, so I know what it's like. So again, congratulations. And we're really excited to talk to you today. My name is Ali Khan. I am an attorney in Chicago. But more importantly for today, I'm also an alum of the program, participating in nationals from the state of Illinois back in 1998.
My name is Ben Glickman. I'm an attorney with the California Attorney General's Office, also an alumnus of the program. I participated in the national finals for California way back in 1995. So congratulations on making it here.
Good afternoon. I extend my congratulations as well. My name is Dan Taubman. I'm a senior judge on the Colorado Court of Appeals in Denver, Colorado. Unlike my colleagues, I am not an alumnus of the program, but I've worked with We the People for many years, and I'm looking forward to your presentation this afternoon.
Can you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Simon Crum.
I'm Amara Termes.
My name is Rachel Jensen.
My name is Logan Lanenfeld.
Great. One thing, just as a note, since you guys are a little bit distance away, just please make sure to speak up. And as perhaps is no surprise, we are doing question 2. There is nothing I dread so much as a division of the Republic into 2 great parties, each arranged under its leader and in opposition to each other. What issues led to the formation of the original political parties? To what extent have those issues persisted in American political parties? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of a unified or divided government? You may begin.
The formation of political parties is innate to the Constitution and the American government. The Constitution was written based on the Massachusetts state constitution, where the original political factions arose due to raised opposition or support of the power to veto. Later, when issues related to the ratification of the newly formed federal constitution arose, political factions furthered. This is where Federalists and Anti-Federalists appeared. Federalists supported a strong central government, while Anti-Federalists believed that power should lie within state governments.
These parties eventually evolved into what historians and political scientists refer to as the first party system, which was characterized by the Democratic Republicans, led by Jefferson, and the Federalists, led by Hamilton. Jefferson and his party opposed the idea of Hamilton's proposed national bank due to the fear of a banking monopoly and too much power being allocated to the national government. This is due to the implications of how the British ruled the original 13 colonies and the necessity to create a well-balanced American government. The Democratic Republicans became the first opposition party that later split and evolved into the next major political parties, the Whigs, led by Henry Clay in opposition to the policies of President Andrew Jackson, leader of the Democratic Party. Next, the third party system was characterized by the emergence of the anti-slavery Republican Party, which adopted many of the economic policies of the Whigs, and the Democratic Party, which formed within the Confederacy. Issues regarding slavery during the Civil War and Reconstruction era polarized the 2 parties.
Furthermore, contentions within the bipartisan system related to the strength of federal government persist today. National versus state power remains an ongoing battle. Take, for example, the dispute of personal rights. During the ratification process of the Constitution, personal rights remained a topic of significant disconcernment, which resulted in the formation of the Bill of Rights. At the core of this debate, anti-federalists argued that personal rights would be jeopardized as a result of a strong federal government. Protecting personal rights has been very important to the American people in both the past and status quo. Furthermore, during the Progressive Era, 1896 to 1920, the American people fought to expand personal rights to minorities within the United States population. The ideas have stemmed from the Progressive Era have continued to today, but the promotion of these ideas often comes with the opposition between the 2 political parties. For example, police brutality has been a topic of major controversy within the last decade. According to the Washington Post, upwards of 1,000 people die every single year from police violence. The 2 parties have argued back and forth since the problem arose and took the spotlight in 2014 with the Ferguson riots, and they have yet to reach a solution due to the polarity of the 2 arguments.
Divided government occurs when one or more houses of the legislature are controlled by the party in opposition to the executive. In other words, a divided government is one that is polarized between 2 political parties. A unified government is defined by having one political party that has control of the executive and the legislature entirely. For example, the first 2 years of Barack Obama's presidency showcased a unified government due to the fact that the Democrats had control of Congress and the executive branch. This is further displayed through the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. However, in 2010, the Republicans gained control of the House, and therefore the government became divided once again. An advantage of a unified government is the efficiency of how laws can be passed through Congress. This is a disadvantage in a divided government, but more individual voices are heard in a divided government.
The realm of the American political parties has only furthered as society has persisted. The early American party systems formed the foundation of United States politics today and eventually led to the ever-changing nature of American political parties. Whether the government is demonstrated through a unified or divided government, the political parties have remained polarized since the beginning of the first party system. The threat of contradictory political parties within a ruling two-party system has never dissolved and is displayed through daily life within America. As stated by John Adams, division of republic, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution. We are now ready for your questions.
Thank you very much. Great job. Let me start by asking you this, because it's often, it is frankly a hot button issue when it comes to politics and our national elections. Do you support abolishing the Electoral College system? Why or why not?
I think that the Electoral College system was put in place at the beginning so that we would have more educated people making decisions for the people. But today, many people have argued that the Electoral College system has drowned out the voices of the individual. And when you're thinking of a state like South Dakota, many Democrats feel that they don't need to vote because the Republican voice is going to overshadow their personal voice, and South Dakota is going to be an all Republican state.
I agree with Simon on the fact that the Electoral College should no longer be a thing. I think that when the Electoral College was invented, most people didn't know how to read. And I think now that most people in the United States are subject to a good education, I think that everyone's voice should be heard equally. And I think that the way it is now, it is not.
So how would you replace it?
I think that I think that the person who receives the most votes by the popular vote should gain the presidency.
I actually disagree with my colleagues on this. I think that the Electoral College should remain in place. I think that our founding fathers, when the Electoral College was designed, that they designed it with the purpose. Now, similar to the Constitution, as time goes, I think it should be considered more like a flexible process. I think that we could alter the Electoral College, perhaps, maybe just like some states already have. Maybe instead of, like, South Dakota, for instance, is a winner take all of all three Electoral College votes. Maybe we have a system that has, like, per state system where, you know, the 3 votes could go to any party.
I would also have to disagree with my colleagues. I think that the reason that America is one of the longest standing democracies that we've ever seen is because we have all of these implements in place in order to ensure checks and balances, and that well-educated people are put into the presidential debate and are put into our legislature and things like this. And to abolish it would be going against what the original founding fathers had thought. However, I do think that some reforms need to be taken because, like they were talking about in instances of South Dakota, Wyoming, very far-leaning left or far-leaning right, the opposing party doesn't have a voice, and that is something that needs to be fixed because every individual deserves a voice.
So let me ask you about the role of third parties in our history. Why do you think third parties haven't flourished. And can you give us some examples of third parties that and how they've fared in presidential elections?
Sure. So we can take for instance, if we go all the way back to Federalists and Anti-Federalists, it was primarily a dominating two-party system. And that was the original precedent that was set, and that eventually evolved into present-day modern Democrats and Republicans. And we can take, for instance, many smaller third-party systems like the Independent Party, the Green Party, and all of them have never been in office simply because they don't have that amount of people, because of the precedent that is originally set through our history and through what is now the status quo. The precedent is already set to have a two-party system, and that's a primarily reason why third-party systems haven't evolved.
And to add on that, just under the nature of American politics, we are such we're already set as such a two-party system where the two parties are, the polarization of the two parties, I think also has contributed to why the that third party seems to not have as much of a voice, or in presidential elections, why they don't have the backup as the other two parties.
Are there any structural changes you could propose to our government or to our election process that might give third parties a better chance or might lessen that polarization you just referenced?
One example I can think of is gerrymandering. As in Pennsylvania, there are some really weirdly drawn districts, and that is all to give one party more power over a state. And so in Pennsylvania, I believe that with popular vote, it was about a 50-50 for Democrats and Republicans, but one party ended up being 75% just because of how the borders were drawn.
Furthermore, I think if we look to our legislature, our Senate, and our Congress, they're also majorly dominated by two political parties. So if we were to encourage third parties, independent, Green Party, specific third parties like that to either run for Congress or to mandate that they at least have some seats within the legislature, I think that would really help.
To expand on what my colleague Simon referenced about gerrymandering, gerrymandering has been an aspect of our politics for a very long time, but today it's became so systemized. And then take Texas for example, Texas is a very conservative state, but like Austin, Texas is more liberal than other parts of Texas. And today Austin, Texas actually has 6 districts, all originating in Austin and expanding out from Austin in an effort to, and the Republican aspect of Texas are the ones who redrew these districts so that they could divide up Austin between those 6 districts. And this systemized gerrymandering has significantly contributed to the polarization of the two parties we see today.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this country would be less divided, less partisan, less gridlock if we mandated that the president and vice president had to be from different parties?
To some extent, I think that would be a good idea, majorly because then you would have 2 opposing voices of 2 opposing opinions within the same branch. But on the contrary, I don't think it would, and may I finish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't think that it would really work out in the long run. A major reason of why we have both the president and the vice president of the same party is so that they can work together in order to create a uniform government for the people to follow. And if we were going to have 2 people who were constantly going at it with each other, this would simply not work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if we could give the students a round of applause for their hard work and presentation. And now the judges will provide their feedback.
First, let me again congratulate you for being here. As I said earlier, I know the time, effort, commitment this is. and like I said, having been the other side, I know what it's like. So I appreciate your time, and I really enjoyed listening to you. In terms of feedback, I loved how you all participated, and I loved how you all disagreed. In response to some of the free response questions, I loved how whether you didn't really worry about whether what you thought we may have thought. You had an opinion, you had your conviction, and you explained why. And that, to me, more than whether you're right or wrong, I like to see thought process and why you believe something. That really stood out to me. So and I'm sure my fellow judges will have more feedback, but that's the thing that stood out for me. So overall, very nice job, and you should really be proud of yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think you did a very nice job. I like your description about how the parties evolved, and I like your historical description. Also, I think you're the first team that's really described the Whig Party and how that evolved in our history and led to or resulted from opposition to Andrew Jackson. I thought that was good. I like your example about police brutality as an issue dividing the parties. On the Electoral College, I think the fact that you disagreed shows that this is an issue where there isn't a right or wrong answer. This is an issue that's divided people in our country for a long time, and that there are good arguments that have been made both to support the continuation of the Electoral College and to abolish the Electoral College. One thing you might have mentioned was the National Popular Vote Compact, which some states have signed on to, which would effectively lead to the elimination of the Electoral College without its repeal. In response to my question about third parties, you mentioned the Independent Party and the Green Party. There have been a number of other examples that you might have mentioned about Ross Perot when he ran for president, George Wallace when he ran for president, Ralph Nader. Those are all people who may have played a spoiler role when there were third party candidates for president. In connection with your discussion of gerrymandering, I think what you said about Pennsylvania was true previously, but then I believe the Pennsylvania Supreme Court invalidated the congressional districts in Pennsylvania, and then that led to a redistricting of the congressional districts there and a change in the votes as a result of that. In terms of gerrymandering, also it's important to note that there's been, the Supreme Court on the one hand has said that we're entitled to one person, one vote, so that districts have to have the same number or roughly the same number of people, but the Supreme Court has declined to rule on the issue of political gerrymandering, which it says it's not able to or does not want to deal with. So that's something else that you might have mentioned. But overall, I think you did a really nice job in talking about all aspects of the question. I think you should be very pleased with your presentation this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I echo everything that's been said. I don't have much to add. I thought the prepared remarks did a very nice job of answering the question. In particular, you took us kind of throughout the whole history. You didn't just jump from the founding to present day. You gave us examples in the middle, around the Civil War and what have you. So I appreciated that. And I thought your discussion of the divided and unified, very succinctly, but covered kind of the pros and cons of those pretty well. So I appreciated that. On the question and answer, again, I thought you guys had good responses. You were responsive to the question. On my question about what structural changes, I was very happy to hear gerrymandering. It's obviously a major source of the entrenchment of the political parties, to where state legislatures draw these lines in such a way that, they call it packing and cracking, so that you either pack one group all in one area or split it up like they did in your Austin example. And in my view, it's a real problem for ensuring that the voice of the people is actually heard. So I appreciated hearing that. A few other things you might have mentioned there is changes to how we vote. You could do like ranked choice voting, or having multi-member congressional districts where you allocate the membership based on the percentage that each party gets in the vote. But what you did answer, I thought was right on point and well done. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I thought you guys did a great job. Nice work.
I just want to add about gerrymandering in Colorado and a few other states. There are now independent redistricting commissions that in Colorado, we had 2 referendums that approved bipartisan independent redistricting commissions that eliminates gerrymandering, and they're charged with establishing congressional districts and state House and Senate districts that are competitive and that are not based on politics. So that's something that you might read about in the future. But again, congratulations to all of you for a very nice presentation this afternoon. We enjoyed very much hearing from you. Good luck in the competition.